don't want to ride with her.
Well, what we're doing here today is working on several projects on a piece of property that I've been managing for 3 or 4 years now. Actually sold this tract to the current owners. It was an unthinned pine plantation on about 235 acres, I think. Rest of it's hardwood, borders the Tennessee River here in northeast Alabama. Today, Matt and Bray are here. We're going to be putting some tube shelters on trees.
We're doing the real work.
Yes, they are definitely doing the real work. We're going to be starting to work on some food plots here in the next few days. You know, if anybody's been keeping up with North Alabama,
we're drowning.
We are absolutely drowning. And Taylor, you know, you can see some of this behind us, all the water at our feet and in this field. But just trying to knock out a few projects as we get a little more dry weather here. But we're going to ride around and point out a few things, some things that have been completed on this track and some things that have not been completed on this track yet. And point out where we've made a few mistakes and learned a few lessons, and talk about some things that's still yet to happen. This is where we made a little bit of a mistake, and I see tons of people asking questions about herbicides and rates and gallons per acre and the whole nine. And I always tell people to read the label, and I obviously did read the label and knew what to spray, but had some help here on this particular track. And I told him the rate that it needed to be mixed, and he misunderstood the rate to be per gallon when it was per acre. So we overdid it on the pre-emergent here, and Taylor can pan around and you can see this was actually planted in corn, and there's a handful of corn plants that survived, maybe 5 or 10 out of this acre or so buffer that we planted around this field. But when you make a mistake on some of these herbicides, this is what you deal with. And we're having some erosion because of it, but as soon as it dries up this next week, we're going to come in here and disturb this soil again. And with all the rain we've had, it's working through the system, and we'll be able to replant on it here in the next couple of weeks. But you can see out where he didn't spray it, there's plenty of vegetation. We're going to drill our beans right through that and run a burn down and pre-emergent, and we'll be good to go. Taylor, what we're looking at here is we obviously thinned all this pine timber, but we had pockets of hardwoods throughout that we wanted to keep, you know, mass producing trees, several different oaks, and occasionally a hickory here and there. But you can see behind me, the pines where we were able to run the Cedar sprayer, good and clean, don't have a whole lot of invasives, don't have a lot of hardwood encroachment. But right here, we've got Sericea lespedeza, we've got privet, we've got a lot of hardwood encroachment. And that's simply because we couldn't get the skidder under these hardwoods and spray without damaging them. So we're going to come back now and be a little more selective with the herbicides that we use with backpack sprayers and UTV sprayers, and knock out these invasives and this hardwood, you know, the smaller hardwoods under these larger hardwoods, so we don't have a lot of competition in these things. Taylor,
yeah.
what happened?
Anyway, anywho,
what happened in this field is I got all of these smaller fields drilled with vitalized seed, the Nitro Boost mix, and about the time I got the tractor and the drill parked at the shop, it commenced to raining. and it has not stopped, and it's been 4 weeks roughly of rain, and this track is right on the Tennessee River, so the water level is actually really high in the soil here anyway, so anytime we get heavy rains we're knocked out for a while. But you can see that the crabgrass is pretty well taken over, and there's some wild millet in here too, but there's some of the sorghum, Sudan, and you got some of the American joint vetch and clover coming up. But this is a real good visualization of what happens when you don't have a proper burn down or any type of pre-emergent with crops. Now this is a really different mix, got several different varieties in it from Vitalize, so pre-emergent's not really an option, but we didn't get a chance to burn it down after we drilled, so we just drilled right in green and just didn't get a chance to spray it. So this is what we're dealt with. We're gonna have to come back and replant. Also got some grasses in here that we don't want. I didn't mention them. Bray and Matt were talking about it, but just the yellow nut sedge.
It's got the triangle stem.
I'll pull it.
They're not.
Sedges have edges.
Yeah. No nuts on them just yet, but later on in the year there'll be some tubers down in the
What is that,
in the
nightshade?
soil. Yeah, nightshade here.
Nightshade.
This place has a ton of nightshade. There's sun hemp that was in the Vitalize.
There's some soybeans
Yep.
coming up, trying to poke through.
If we had a post-emergent herbicide option here that we could treat with that didn't kill half of the Vitalize, that's what we'd try, but we just don't have any options with that mix. So we're gonna come back in, we're gonna burn the whole thing down with a herbicide and drill back through it again. Mother Nature. Sometimes you gotta fight with her.
You gotta do what it allows you to. Throw that thing. Look at
It
it.
didn't go far.
No, it didn't.
Wow.
Did you expect two with two broke shoulders?
Alright, so.
Why'd you throw your hat, Jeremy?
Yeah, so Taylor, the reason I threw my hat, it's just a non-biased way to pick a point and come stand. You can tell we've thinned this timber around behind us, and Matt and Bray got on cruise vest. But gonna talk a little bit about Basal. About Basal area, and just to try to boil it down as basic as I can, Basal area is just a measure of the square footage of timber on a landscape. So if you just take a cross section across the landscape with these trees, it's how many square foot, if you took those cross sections of these trees, it would be left here on this acre. And what we're doing is we'll come out behind our forestry crews, timber crews, working with foresters to create plans, but we can spot check what we're doing for our clients with these 10-factor prisms. But I threw my hat so that we could have a bias point to come stand and check, and it ended up being a really open spot, so the basal area is going to be really low, but Matt can stand here and he can use the prism and he can count these trees and tell you, what we're doing.
I want you to take that 37.2 feet, please, ma'am.
Yeah.
So that would be 37.2 feet radius around this center point is 1/10 of an acre. Keep on trucking. Oh. Yeah, keep going. Keep on. Whoa.
Right there.
All right.
I see it. So if Bray were to walk in a circle and Matt were to stay fixed, any tree that would be in that point or in that plot would be counted for your basal area. But instead of having to do things like that, we've
got 4 trees in.
Yeah, we've got a nice little prism here that Matt can hold up, and he can just look.
You can turn it loose.
Yeah, let her rip on back here.
Watch that point tip.
Yeah, just FYI, when those things come back, they can hurt you.
All right, so another way to get your basal area is to take a 10-factor prism, stand in one location, hold it out, and you count the number of trees that touch inside your prism here. So I've got 2 there, 3, 4.
It's gonna squeak.
I'm at 5.
I could count 5 if I do the one that's right there beside you.
Yeah. And then, okay, so if you have a borderline tree, at that point is when you measure.
Right, okay. So we've got a basal area of approximately 50 here.
And when we finished thinning this track, this spot right here was thinned 2 years ago. So it's had 2 years of growth.
It's actually thinned it back.
Yes.
To where it was.
It was lower than a 50.
Right.
Yeah, it was closer to a 45-ish, you know, 40.
When you do a cut like that, you give your trees a much better opportunity to grow in diameter. So you're not going to stay at that basal area. Even if you don't have new growth from other trees, your existing trees have the opportunity to.
And these basal areas that we're talking about are typically averages. So although we say, hey, this has got a basal area of 50, 45, whatever the case may be, it may vary from 35 to 60.
Yeah.
You're just going to have areas with less, areas with more.
And this track, we did it specifically that way. We kind of phased through this thing. So this little area we're at, we wanted it to land around a 40. If you look back that way with the camera, Taylor, across the field, all the way across, you can kind of see it looks a little thicker over that way. We thinned that to a 70. And it starts to blend through here. It blends from a 70 to a 40. And then the other side of the road is actually even cut a little bit different. So we didn't want everything to look the same in these pine stands. We wanted to have a different canopy so that gave us different, you know, structural diversity at the ground floor.
Hey, Jeremy,
Hey.
Is this 2 years post herbicide, or has it been?
This one here is 2 years post. Yes.
Okay, so this is 2 years post herbicide.
Yes.
We have a lot of native response out here. We've got beautyberry right here. We've got blackberry, and you can see the deer have nipped most of the stems off, including all the foliage. Yep, that one's got me. Hold on. All right. We've got Carolina petunia here that they're nibbling around on. We keep going.
We got giant goldenrod over here that they are destroying.
Ragweed.
Bunch of ragweed.
Common ragweed, not giant.
Did you get the coral berry?
No, the native coral berry here. Looks a little similar to privet, but it's not.
And while you're pointing all that out,
And you can see they're eating the new growth on the beautyberries.
while y'all are pointing out everything that they're eating, or we're pointing out everything that they are eating, it's very common to hear that American beautyberry is highly desirable by deer. I'm not saying that deer don't eat it and they don't need it and want it in places, but you can see what they're eating here, and you can look at all this beautyberry. I'll challenge you to find one that's been browsed on. I mean, right there, Matt.
No, that's not a beautyberry.
That's not beautyberry.
That's not a young one?
That right there behind you is.
Yeah, this is a beautyberry.
And there's
I know
beautyberry at
that's
Taylor's
beautyberry.
feet.
That's a service berry.
The service berry, the new growth is being eaten on.
I just do not see a lot of deer utilization.
Birds will eat the berries.
Yeah, on beautyberry here, but I think that's a function of we've got much better forage.
Yeah.
Than what beautyberry is.
And if you look at
Greenbrier.
if you look at the ground level, there's there's a lot of diversity with your grass species. We've got a lot of dicanthelium, plume grass. All these different grasses just provide structure and a lot of seeds for your quail and birds along the forest floor. Like they said, ragweed's coming up, but people are oftentimes afraid to use, and Bray's back there eating blackberries.
Yep. Here's a ripe one.
Yep. People are afraid to use herbicide to try to restore plant communities back to where they should be. And you can see here, 2 years post-treatment, we've got an incredible forb and legume response. So Y'all saw a good blackberry.
Yeah, they're really good.
How many have you eaten?
You can see these dead stalks. This is beautyberry that we killed when we sprayed, and you can see it's coming right back. You know, this is 2 years later. And of course, we've also got some muscadine vines that we killed, but you can see them starting to come back. Got some, look like pepper vine over there running up a tree.
But now that it's been treated with herbicide, we'll come back through, and from here on out, we'll set back succession with seasonal fire.
Our attempt on this site is going to be burn some this fall, you know, early fall, depending on how much moisture we get. With it being low lying, sometimes that's tough, but that's going to be our attempt out here this year. This stand right here has been, you know, it was sprayed like Matt mentioned. Here's privet starting to come back, kind of small, and then you can see these sweet gums that are coming off of root sprouts. When we burn this thing, it'll take care of those. Now we'll have to fight with it. You know, they're going to keep coming back and keep coming back because the root sprouts are going to continue with the sweet gum.
Sorry, Bray moment.
Yeah.
Bray stuck in a hole.
I'm sorry, you can keep.
No, this is
Nope, this is better.
No, we're good with this.
My foot's in like an L-shaped hole right now.
I would back up.
Back it up, Terry. I can't, my ankle does not go that way. Okay.
Get it out of there. So after this timber was cut, they de-stumped it, they raked it, and piled some debris here in the middle of the field. And we've got an invasive species. Bray, what are we looking at?
Polonia.
Royal Polonia.
Royal Polonia.
Right.
And this pile was piled up, burned. They still came back. They will be cut and treated chemically, but we're going to keep this kind of messy little island in the middle of this field just an option for cover and kind of break up this big green field a little bit.
And if you'll look at what came back, anytime you have soil disturbance or push up topsoil, you've got a lot of ragweed, ironweed, blackberry,
dog fennel,
some native vetch. So there's several species of browse plants here that came up in this burn pile. And we got one of nature's corn dogs over here.
I'll give you a nickel to bite it.
A nickel?
A nickel.
Every day for the rest of my life?
Sure. You're not going to live that long.
No, I won't. I certainly won't if I take a bite of this.
Choked to death.
It's a rotten corn dog, isn't it?
Yeah, it's no good.
Not
You need a fresh one.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Now Taylor, what we're looking at here is obviously you can see this is still the end of what we've thinned, but this is one of the main runs for water to come off these mountains and get to the Tennessee River on this other side. And you know, you can overlay, you know what I'm talking about and look, but there's a tremendous amount of water that's coming down through here. And this track is still telling us how we're gonna have to operate. We put in this road and we've got in 3 big cross-drain culverts and it's holding, but you can tell kind of looking behind me that the water will still come up over this road. So at some point we may have to come in here and pull this out and bridge it, but that's a determination we're going to make at a later date, depending on how this holds, because really this spring has been the wettest that I can remember, and it's held up fairly well. But we are gonna let this track tell us what it needs, and so there may be some updates coming to this road later.
One of the most important things that people often overlook is stand placement and how they get to the stand and exit the stand. And if you look here, we've got a nice backwoods blind. North is that way, west would be that way. So our predominant winds in the southeast are going to be out of the north, northwest, or westerly direction when we have good hunting conditions. So that allows us to enter the stand from back here. And we've actually got 3 separate entrance points to come in, get in the back of this stand, in the back of the field or the south side of the field. And you can see here there's been some brush that was piled up last season. You can either plant a screen out here in front of the field or in front of the blind, or you can put brush, hay bales, any type of things would work to block the deer's view of you entering and exiting the stand. But you can sit stands like this multiple times throughout a season, many days in a row, as long as you can get in and out without spooking deer. it's much better. You're going to see more deer. Deer catch on pretty quick. All the studies have indicated that they catch on to our movement and how we navigate around a property far better than we do them. So how you get in and out, stand placement, those things are very important to consider.
We're going to talk a little bit about this pine stand, but I did want to point out our haul road here. I see a lot of folks doing a lot of management out there, and they don't take a lot of account into where and how they place the roads, exactly where they lay on the property and put in culverts and things like that. But as we drive this road, I'm going to point out some things for Taylor to show you guys. But here's a cross drain culvert that we put in to be able to handle the water flow coming off this mountain and get it across. I mean, this is things that even hunting clubs should try to work towards. I know it's an expensive deal, it's an investment, but being able to easily access all your property is key. You don't have to go to the expense of putting gravel down like we did here, but putting in proper culverts, road crossings, crowning your road to keep the moisture off of it. Those are things where you do want to spend time and spend that money to do things right, so that you're not always having to try to fix things. But we'll walk down here just a bit and look at this timber stand. When we thinned this tract, we liked about 10 or 12 acres, and it started raining, and so we couldn't get back to this stand. So we waited to the next year to try to get back here and thin the rest of it, which was this past year, and we ran into quota problems all summer long, and we were not able to haul pine pulpwood. So we've got about 10 or 12 acres here that's just left for time being. When we come back in and do a third thinning, it'll be probably another 3 or 4 years. We'll come back here and try to grab this pulpwood out of here and do something different with this stand.
So one aspect that is often overlooked by landowners is how to manage the sides of your road. So something that we've done here, and that's so important if you do manage your road system, is called daylighting roads. And by doing that, you're just picking, say, 15, 20, 30 feet off your roadsides. Keeps them in the sunshine, they dry out faster, they're not sitting underwater. You don't have to deal with things like this as often. And in addition to that, you also have the opportunity to manage for a lot of early successional habitat very easily on your roadsides. So with that, you're going to see a lot of native vegetation come up, and it creates really great cover for ground nesting birds, fawns, any of your small mammals, and normally creates a good native food source.
Alright guys, today we're out here putting protective tree covers on some oak seedlings that we put in the ground back in the winter. And the reason we do this primarily here is protection from deer, because they'll completely strip them of the foliage, and this fall they'll rub their antlers on these trees, and they can kill them at this stage of development. But also we can come through and do spot treatments of herbicide around these trees to remove some of the competition without it affecting the tree itself. We've got several species of red oaks out here. I think there's 2 species of white oak, swamp chestnut and white oak itself. And over time, we'll come through in a few years and remove some of these trees. They're spaced a little tighter than what we'd like. The planting crew actually put these trees closer than what we recommended, but there's ways of correcting that. It's not going to be an issue. So today we're out here in this blistering sun and humidity, putting these out. And the reason we've waited so long, it has been so wet. You can see there's standing water everywhere out here. And it's been very unusually wet this spring. It has rained all through May, all through June. Here we are on the, is that day the 20th?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's June the 20th. And we've received about 1/3 or more of our annual rainfall in the last 45 days. So it's going to be a hot day, but enjoyable. I like being out here.
As with anything in wildlife management, you don't want a monoculture of anything. Diversity is key in everything we do. So by alternating the different species of red oaks and white oaks, everything's going to mature at kind of different times, and then it's basically one way to make sure that acorns are kind of always falling once these trees hit maturity and keep it diverse. And I mean, we've talked about it before on previous shows, but deer like us, like they have their favorites, we have our favorites. White oaks are typically lower in tannin, so they taste a little bit better, but red oaks tend to be a little bit more readily available than white oaks. So by just mixing it up like this, we're just kind of ensuring that there's always going to be some hard mass producers out here.
Gotcha.
So just to wrap up, we're kind of completing stage 1 of the management on this property. We started with some timber thinning, and we followed up with herbicide applications. We're going to start introducing fire on a regular routine here. We're adding hard mass producers in the form of these oak trees in several places. We've got several clearings now with larger food plots. We're going to do some summer planting and have larger winter plots. And that's really just kind of where we're starting. They've also done a lot of road work, because access is very critical on properties like this. You can own all the property in the world, and if you can't get to it or access it, it's really worthless. So we want these landowners to enjoy this place. So putting in a good series of roads has been very important. So we'll keep you guys updated as progress
continues.
Yeah, whatever. I think the heat's starting to get my brain. But yeah, we'll keep you guys updated on any progress, and I'm looking forward to what they're accomplishing on this place. It's looking good, a whole lot better than it used to.
For sure.